annual symposium on Mysore paintings, which is being held for the second year in a row, is a tribute to R. Kaladevi, who was the founder trustee of Ramson's Kala Pratisthana, which was established in the year 1995. Kaladevi grew up in the city of Hyderabad and moved to Mysore in 1964 after her marriage with D. Ram Singh. True to her name, Kaladevi, she was a patron of the arts. She was interested in literature, connected with arts, an avid film goer who regularly attended concerts of music and dance and diligently collected miniature artifacts during her lifetime, a portion of which has formed the core of the collection of Kaladevi Doll Museum. The Ram Singh Museum of Mysore Paintings, which was established in 5th February 2020, and Kaladevi Doll Museum, established on 23rd September 2023, are a unique tribute to a husband-wife duo who tirelessly worked in the field of art and crafts for over half a century. Now, the first Kaladevi Memorial Lecture will be delivered by Professor Anna Dallapiccola. Professor Anna Dallapiccola has a PhD in Indian Art History, University of Heidelberg, Germany. Formerly Professor of Indian Art at the South Asia Institute of Heidelberg University, as an honorary professor at Edinburgh University, she has regularly lectured at the School of Oriental and African Studies, London. She was a visiting professor at De Montfort University, Leicester. Among her publications are Catalogue of South Indian Paintings in the collection of the British Museum, The Great Platform at Vijayanagara, Indian Painting, The Great Platform at Vijayanagara, Indian Painting, The Lesser Known Traditions, Kalamkari Temple Hangings, Indian Reverse Glass Paintings, about which she gave a lecture last year, Tanjavur Gilded Gods, and Lepakshi Architecture, Sculpture, Painting. At present, she is researching the development of the sacred sites during the Vijayanagara and Nayaka periods. Professor Dallapiccola will now present the Kaladevi Memorial Lecture on the subject Piety and Devotion, 16th Century Murals in the Virabhadraswamy Temple, Lepakshi. I welcome Professor Dallapiccola to please present her keynote address.
I think that you are optimistic. Well, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for having me here. It's the third time that I speak, I believe, to this audience, and I'm very glad to be back in Mysuru yet again. I hope you can understand me. I know that... Huh? Ah, okay. I'm starting with this slide, which is how I came to know about Lepakshi. And you will be surprised to know that I came to know about Lepakshi in the most extraordinary way. I was in Paris trying to brush up my French and visiting friends. That was during the Christmas vacations 1963. I was still in school. And suddenly, I was walking through Boulevard Saint-Germain, having a lovely time, and I saw this in the window of a bookseller. I was very interested in Indian painting, and I said, oh, that looks like Indian painting, but I've never seen anything like that. As a matter of fact, I was familiar, in a certain sense, familiar, quote unquote, with Rajasthani and Mughal paintings, not with South Indian paintings. So what did I do? I went into the shop, bought the book, which was pretty expensive, but it didn't matter. I was very happy. And then I saw, oh, Lepakshi. Where is this Lepakshi? The book said, near Hindupur. where is Hindupur? So I went stupidly to my school atlas. I mean, imagine how naive I was. So Hindupur, nothing. Lepakshi, nothing. So I said, oh, I want to go there. How do I go there? Fast forward 16 years. So by now we are around the late 70s. And thank God I had a friend here in Bengaluru who was very interested in archaeology. And she said, oh, I'm going to Lepakshi. I said, are you going to Lepakshi? She said, why don't you come with me? Fine, I said. In those days, I mean, I'm old, so I'm speaking to the younger people. Going to Lepakshi was a rather an expedition. From Bangalore to Lepakshi, I think we drove 5 hours, one way, 5 hours the other way, and there were absolutely no facilities at the site. However, I was struck with what I saw. And in the course of time, I had many more occasions to visit the site. Now, the dedication of the temple is, as you all know, to the god Virabhadraswamy. And the temple extends over a rocky outcrop. It's very uneven. And we suppose that the temple as it stands now was constructed or covered or perhaps assembled by 2 governors of Penukonda, Virapanna and Viranna, during the reign of Achyutaraya, which is 1530 to 1543. There is no epigraphic record nor date of foundation. However, the locals tell us that the origin of the temple is attributed to that famous sage Agastya. Agastya is all over southern India, so why not have Agastya in Lepakshi, which I find very good. Then, in this slide, you can see where Lepakshi is, and as you see, it's in a corner there. Towards Penukonda, you have Lepakshi here. It's stuck away in a corner, and as you enter the site, you have this beautiful bull, the famous Basava, monolithic Nandi, that greets you at the entrance of the site. May I have the next slide, please? Yeah, this gives you an idea of the landscape that you see when you go there. These huge boulders and these massive round things, which to those who are familiar with the landscape at Hampi Vijayanagara will immediately recognize. This is something so typical of that area that once that you have seen it, you don't forget it. Next slide, please. These are the alleged founders of the temples, the portraits of Virapanna and Viranna. Obviously, this is the story. We don't know if there are the portraits of the actual person, but it's nice to think that these are the originator of the temples. There are numerous inscriptions and numerous grants which range between 1513 and 1538, which coincides with the rule of these 2 gentlemen. After that, there are no donation, no inscription, no nothing. So we suppose that the main thrust of the works was during this time, and hence the possibility that the paintings were also executed at that period. Mind you, it's all conjecture, because there is no record, no other document that can certify that this is the correct date. Now, the paintings are very important because they are the only or almost sole representative of what we call Vijayanagara paintings. There are some fragments in Somapalayam, in Andhra Pradesh, and in Tadapatri, but they are so ruined, so dilapidated, that you can't really see much. And hence, the Lepakshi painting are for us, for all those who are dealing with South Indian painting or who are artists or something, of the utmost importance. Okay. Next, please. Yeah, here you see the plan of the temple, and the highlighted area show you the areas, the sites, the place, the halls where the paintings are. Now, the paintings, the best paintings, the best preserved are here and here and here. However, there is a set of painting here which is so damaged that you can't really make out what it is. And so I'll concentrate on these areas. Starting from the Natya Mandapa, which is this one. This is the Natya Mandapa, this is the veranda, this is the Mahabandapa, and this is the Raghunathalaya. Now, starting from here, I shall show you bit by bit the various paintings. The next, please. This is a view of the Mandapa as you enter. And the paintings are around the central dome and on both sides of the central dome, plus a long 18 meters panel on the north and on the north entrance. So, can you go back, please, this one? The long panel is this one. Huge thing. Next one, please. Now, on the Natya Mandapa in the north, you have the long panel shows the story of Manuniti Cholan. And I suppose all of you are familiar with this. And some parts of the painting has disappeared. Some others, as you see here, are in pristine conditions. So, you have here the chariot which is running over the calf. Here, the cow that seeks justice to the palace. And it's very interesting that you have this continuous narrative. And I was asked many times, how do you know the various phases of the narrative? And my rule of the thumb, which you may adopt or not, is that when you see decorations falling down from the roof, or canopies, or trees, or other architectural elements, it is like, a comma, a semicolon, a colon, or something. So, elements of landscape and architecture, in my experience, show the progressing of the action. You pass from one scene to the next, to the next, to the next. Okay? Next, please. Yeah, here it goes again, further. The king orders the prince to be run over by the chariot, carrying the body of the calf there. And eventually, the end of the story is that Shiva, Parvati, Nandi, and all the Ganas come and resuscitate both the calf and the prince. It's one of the most famous stories in the Periyapuranam, in the 12th century Periyapuranam, compiled by the Tamil poet Sekkilar. The next, please. Now, we come to the Mahabharata. the story of Draupadi Swayamvara, and it's very condensed. You see Draupadi seated on the thigh of Drupada, of her father. Here, unfortunately, the figure of Arjuna is half gone. Then you have Krishna and the Pandavas welcoming the new bride. It's one of the few examples of Mahabharata stories that are available in this temple. The other one, which is described in great detail, and not only once but 4 times, is the story of Arjuna and the Kirata. That had a special attraction for the local public, because otherwise, why would you have it twice in paintings and twice in sculpture? Next, please. Now, this is a long painting, long panel, depicting Virapanna and Viranna paying homage, obviously, to Virabhadra, disappeared but for his word. Here you have a pujari giving them vibhuti, and Bhadrakali is completely disappeared, but you have Daksha. And this takes a central, it's at the center of a longish painting, and on the other side you have portraits of all the dignitaries and courtiers of Virapanna and Viranna.